The moon glared down at the frosted moor, and the minister's wife drove faster into the blackened night. An owl's eyes caught the headlights, then died, while sheep slept in the dark corners of fields, and a Greek taverna sat in her head where bodies moved to music against a background of well-walked beaches and warmth and love and space. "I hate being known as the minister's wife," the minister's wife said to herself over and over as she gripped the cold steering wheel with newly painted fingernails, not quite dry. She wound the car round bends where winter hedges festered on the edge and long-dead autumn leaves rotted. She was late. Damn! Blast! Giorgio will be mad! And the sound of her voice resounding inside the empty car seemed to calm her. She smiled. It was 8 long months now that she had been travelling the same road, and every jagged branch and hollowed burrow was familiar, every twist and straight a secret. No one knew, not even Michael. She loved him very much, and had done all those years they had shared, bursting through adolescence together before adulthood and marriage. But I'm definitely not a minister's wife, she thought. They smile a lot when they don't feel like it, and are responsible. They are well-behaved appendages. I am not an appendage. And her black-brown eyes blazed into the darkness and almost rivalled the moon in their intensity. It was nearly 9 when she arrived. Giorgio was pleased to see her. "Thank God you're here." He clasped her shoulders with his sun-tanned hands as he rasped the words. "I thought you weren't going to make it." It was late when she woke. Frosted windows shielded the grey morning, and Michael stirred beside her. "Everything go all right last night, darling? How is Agnes's Aunt Betty?" he asked, crawling from the warmth of their bed. She grunted. "You were very late." "Sorry, I couldn't wait up. Had to get an early night. 2 funerals today." He kissed her cheek and left. Small towns breed small minds, Lillian thought ungraciously as she queued in the butcher's shop. She had imagined that she could hear her thoughts following her down the hill from the manse, whispering through the bereaved winter branches of rowan trees. "Holier than thou, butter wouldn't melt. Thinks she's something special, snooty cow." Lillian held her head up high and deliberately stuck out the end of her little pointed nose, hoping to look as a minister's wife should. "Yes, Mrs. Rowe, and what will be yours today?" Mr. Featherstone the butcher asked as his meaty cheeks glowed with cholesterol. "And how is the Reverend this morning, then?" Lillian refused to be baited. "I've no idea, Mr. Featherstone. I didn't go home last night." She watched for a flicker of shock from his eyes, but there was none. Her comment was lost to him. He barely laughed, but he always did, no matter what she said. She watched as his fingers entwined a pound of sausages she had ordered, and she thought it was difficult to tell which were which. "Mrs. Rowe," he snorted, wiping his nose on the full length of his hand, then wrapping her purchase. "You certainly know how to keep religion popular. I suppose His Holiness is still in bed, then?" "My husband is not the Pope, Mr. Featherstone. Not yet." And she smiled benignly before grabbing the brown-papered sausages which she had decided to feed to the dog. Open-mouthed astonishment stood behind her. She could hear them. "Did you see that? Imagine, and her the minister's wife. What are things coming to?" Lillian sat quietly in church that Sunday and listened to Michael. "Let us worship the Lord and sing his praises." Hymn 72. "We saw thee not when thou didst come to this poor world of sin and death." Please stand. The organ blasted out the tune, and Lillian blushed at the mention of sin and looked high up at the stained-glassed windows. Their panes were being gently tapped by leafless oak trees. She wondered where it would all end. Her lovely Michael, so conventional and good, yet inside her there was something she could not ignore, even for him. And the singing burst around her, off-key, and sometimes shaky, but with spirit. "But we believe," the angels said, "why seek the living with the dead?" And Lillian wondered how to tell him. Later, she stood at her husband's side. They came in their 2s and 3s and families to speak to him, their Sunday faces scrubbed clean, and she welcomed them with hers. "Mrs. Rowe, you must bring your husband to dinner soon," the doctor's wife said, and she shook her by the hand. It was always the same veneer on the surface, and Lillian thought, "You wouldn't be asking that if I wasn't the minister's wife, and if you knew where I was last Thursday." In fact, if Mr. Featherstone knew where I was last Thursday, his sausages would fry of their own accord, and she smiled before saying, "Of course, we'd be delighted." Michael looked stern and fidgeted with the overdone Yorkshire pudding balanced on the edge of his plate. "Why didn't you tell me, Lillian?" She stopped breathing. "I knew you weren't travelling all that way, over 80 miles every Thursday, just to see your friend's sick aunt. Besides, she died 3 months ago, didn't she?" Lillian turned white. Michael knew. She pushed her plate away and wiped perspiration from her forehead with a gravy-spattered napkin. "Michael, I wanted to tell you, but it just accelerated. It was something for me, nothing to do with religion." He interrupted her. "You're damn right there. Certainly nothing to do with religion. Thank God you had the sense to go as far away as possible, or we'd be ruined." "But it shouldn't be that way," she protested. "It's hypocrisy." He wasn't listening. He stood up from the table and was looking out of the French windows onto a rain-drenched garden where once rampant honeysuckle now drooped. "Promise me you'll end it, Lillian," he said quietly. She ran to him, and their wedding rings clinked softly together as she held his hand. "I promise, Michael. I'll tell him this week." Thursday. She was thinking about the evening which had just ended. Giorgio was sad, but understanding when she told him. Then they had gathered round welcomingly as usual, their eyes eating into her flesh, their sweaty fingertips outstretched, desperately trying to touch the curves of her body, their white teeth gleaming in the candlelight. But she was too quick for them. No minister's wife could have dodged their well-rehearsed ambushes as they lunged forward at her gyrating body like unruly branches, clutching, grasping, and barely missing her ample breasts. And the harder they tried, the more she moved, the music spinning a beat inside her brain, and the soft material met her skin with rhythmic regularity, faster and faster, and her jewels jingled and jumped round her body, and her arms writhed in the smoky air, and her long hair flew behind her until it was all over. They applauded, they flung money, flowers from vases, old menu cards, and they stood up to help her from the little platform, a goddess amongst men. "Hey, Giorgio," they shouted, "this is the best belly dancer you ever found." And Giorgio smiled, knowing they were right. The midnight sky scattered 1,000 stars above Brandon Moor as Lillian reached home that night, but she didn't see them. A tune was weaving around her head. And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountains green? Lillian suddenly shouted out, "No, they danced, they bloody danced," and she laughed, feeling pleased with herself.